The Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is less than 1 week away, which, barring any sudden surprises, means that the era of Nintendo Switch presentations is officially over. And it's been quite the journey to get here. It's easy to forget that Nintendo Directs weren't always what they are today. Going back to the earlier presentations makes the growing pains pretty obvious.
It's the Thriller song that you know and love, featuring DreamWorks Animation's Shrek characters.
But now, going on to 14 years since that starting point, Directs have become an inseparable portion of Nintendo's identity. Each one is an event, a defining point in the system's history, and because of that, revisiting a system's history through Directs isn't just easy, it's a lot of fun. Which brings us to today. Through the Nintendo Switch era, we received a grand total of 18 mainline General Directs, and we'll be going through every single one to see how they rank up against each other. But we're doing things a little differently today. While I usually prefer to do my rankings from worst to best, so starting at 18 and ending at 1, to amp up the whole memory lane nostalgia angle, we're going in release order and dropping them in tiers as we progress. Feels appropriate given the timing. Alright, let's get into some Directs. I didn't plan to include this initially, since it isn't technically a Direct, but because this is also something of a light Switch era retrospective, it felt wrong not to start at the very beginning, the January 2017 Switch presentation. We're coming up on the Switch 2 equivalent next month, and as amazing as I'm sure it'll be, January 2017 is definitely some tough competition. There's a reason why this presentation is still held in such high regard 8 years later. Never has there been a Nintendo event with this much riding on it that also inarguably succeeded at everything it set out to do. The October 2016 reveal was great, yes, but that only set the stage. This was the show that everyone was waiting for. On that day, the Nintendo Switch was fully unveiled. We got the release date, the price point, no region locking, your Joy-Con can feel like ice cubes, apparently. And of course, no shortage of great live presentation moments.
We put a handle on Nintendo GameCube.
But obviously, this all pales in comparison to the games. They really lure you into a false sense of security at first with 1-2 Switch and ARMS, the latter of which looked way cooler, but it's like, okay, maybe they won't go that crazy. And then they hit you with these back to back. Splatoon 2, a sequel to the Wii U's only documented victory that came out so fast, people were convinced in October that it had to be a port. And that Mario Odyssey trailer, man. They didn't even reveal captures here, the main gimmick of the game. The showing was entirely focused on movement, creativity, and scope, and that's all they needed. Monolith Soft went crazy, as they tend to do. Octopath Traveler was revealed for the first time. Minecraft Story Mode? Sure. But as if all of that wasn't enough, Nintendo ended the presentation with what has gone down as one of their greatest trailers in history. It's funny, because now I watch this knowing they're over-dramatizing Breath of the Wild story, and I still get chills. This song is in Smash for a reason. Like, come on! And that launch day confirmation. I did not get anything done the next day. Needless to say, S tier. Probably the S tier to ever tier, until next month. Hopefully. Major whiplash incoming, because now we're on to April 2017, our first real Direct of the Switch generation. And it's a wake-up call. Look, not every Direct can be destined to save a company from the brink of collapse. Sometimes you just gotta keep momentum rolling, and April 2017 feels very indicative of that. It's clear that the motive here was to ensure new Switch adopters that, yup, things are coming. In addition to that, these early days were very unique in the sense that Nintendo was still holding onto the 3DS for dear life as a safety net, which meant having a presence in Directs. People did not like this. Back in 2017, 3DS hate dominated Nintendo's live chats in a modest third place, not far behind That's It and No Smash. It's kinda tough to be too mad about it in this Direct when it's 9 minutes out of 35, but then again, they announced Hey Pikmin, so you know, people were. As much as this Direct's purpose is obvious, it's hard not to see it for what it was. Not very interesting. It was mostly used as a vehicle to get ARMS and Splatoon 2 news out, and that was definitely successful, but seeing the formula that Directs have fallen into today, it would be pretty difficult to find a weaker showing in the Switch era. Sorry, April 2017, F tier. The rollercoaster continues, and we are back up, because guess what? It's E3. Remember that? The olden days? It was like a Jeff Keighley show but better, except you traded the Muppets for horrible security violations. Nintendo knew they need to come out swinging for their first Switch era expo, and come out swinging they did. At a glance. Hey, the Nintendo Spotlight, which was a Direct for all intents and purposes, was great. I remember people being terrified of that 25-minute runtime when it was announced, since we were so used to E3 shows double that length, but the result was incredible. A show with no meandering, no time to breathe, and tons of announcements. Reggie comes out and says game, and then we got games. Kirby, Pokemon, Metroid Prime, Yoshi, Fire Emblem Warriors, Zelda DLC, Mario plus Rabbids, and an Odyssey trailer that actually showed what the game was about. But here's the question. how much hindsight do we factor into these rankings? Because as stellar as this Direct was, it's also emblematic of a problem we'll continue to see in the first half of the Switch's life: bloated reveal to release timeframes. I'm sorry, there's no world where I should have to wait 2 years for a Yoshi game. Twice. Mario Wonder treated us so well. And then we've got the crown jewel of You Know You'll Buy It Anyway in Metroid Prime 4, a game that I'm now excited to see in a new systems presentation 8 years after this one. Do we sync rankings based on games not being received as well as their announcement was, or excitement fading? Honestly, my answer is not really. I'll bring attention to it, and I'll obviously consider how a reveal has aged, but generally, I'm trying to take these directs as they were, give them praise or scrutiny for what they did or didn't accomplish at the time as a presentation. It somehow feels more fair that way. Like, it's not February's fault that Daisy was DLC, cut it some slack. With all that said, I don't think this quite reaches S level, could get revised later on. Right now, I'm feeling a very high A. Exactly what the Switch needed at the time. September 2017 is up next, and is unfortunately far more in line with what we saw in April. Just like last time, we're coming off the heels of a major blowout meant to inspire confidence in the Switch and grab your attention, which means we're once again in the considerably less interesting holding your attention zone. The 3DS continued to shock and delight with announcements such as Minecraft and Beta Mario Party Superstars. The Switch segment had some cool third-party announcements like Doom and Wolfenstein 2, but still focused near entirely on providing information on known games. Xenoblade was highlighted, Splatoon 2 was highlighted, ARMS, Star Allies, Odyssey, all games that made sense to promote, but again, not incredibly exciting on their own. Well, aside from Odyssey, I guess, I remember eating up literally any info I could get my hands on at the time. Plus, the fit is amazing, Koizumi, you're killing it. But overall, we're still looking at a pretty forgettable Direct, and some clear evidence that Nintendo hadn't quite settled into their known formula yet, especially in regards to pacing. I'm thinking F tier. But now the ball gets rolling. We're out of those early days of Directs acting as complementary pieces to larger presentations and are entering the age of each one standing on its own 2 feet as a unique event. All of this started with March 2018, a game changer. Still not quite in the open strong and strong format that we know today, but this Direct was so good that it didn't even matter. Only 35 minutes, but jam-packed with great reveals. The 3DS had one of its better Switch-era showings, with WarioWare Gold, Luigi's Mansion, and Assigned Death Warrant all being shown off for the first time. We got great third-party reveals in Okami HD, Little Nightmares, Crash Insane Trilogy, and Undertale. Info on some Wii U ports with Hyrule Warriors and Captain Toad, but really, it's that final seamless trifecta that sealed this as one of the all-time greats. Major Splatoon 2 update, new gear, new stages, they brought the superior Squid Sister to Octo Canyon. Transition from that into what's probably the best trailer Splatoon has ever had with the Octo expansion reveal. This came at such a perfect time. People loved Splatoon 2, but the game reasonably pulled a lot from its 2-year-old predecessor, with stuff like Salmon Run giving us a taste of just how creative and versatile this franchise could truly be. This was our second taste, and it gave us everything. New setting, new characters, and the long-requested playable Octoling. But we know it didn't stop there. The one more thing. More Splatoon, seemingly. High action, high intensity Splatoon. I mean, what else could they have to show? This was iconic. There's really no other word for it. One of the defining reveals of the entire generation, which is a pretty big deal when your generation is this long and this good. That flaming Smash Ball became a symbol. It embodied hype and excitement, and marked a shift in just how seriously Nintendo took these reveals. Man, put this in S tier. Back to E3, and this time, things might get controversial. Here's the thing. Everyone is here. Everyone is here. Another era-defining reveal for Smash. This is possibly the most unreal a trailer ever felt this generation. It was like watching history be made, the impossible be achieved. It felt like the Nintendo Switch could do anything. And the trailer itself, undeniably one of the best Nintendo has ever executed. The escalation was perfect, slowly easing you into this new game with smaller reveals like Link's new design. Then we dip into the returning fighters like Ice Climbers, Pokemon Trainer. We catch a glimpse of Inkling's moveset along the way, and you peep that 64 next to their name, but you don't fully grasp what it means yet. And the excitement continues with seemingly impossible returns like Ryu and Cloud, so by the time you get to here, everything clicks. And then you get to hear and it clicks harder. What? 10 out of 10, incredible, no notes. But here's the thing. It's not a Smash Bros. Direct. Ultimate's first in-depth showing was undoubtedly amazing, but what else did this Direct really have to offer? The Mario Party game that has Kamek's tantalizing tower as a board? Fortnite? We knew Three Houses existed, but this was the first time it was seen and named, so that was nice. But when this Direct is talked about, it's talked about almost exclusively because of Smash, which makes sense because Smash takes up more than half of the presentation. Look, I get it, big game, I was listening attentively the whole time, but at a certain point, it's almost like Sakurai himself ran out of things to talk about.
When Olimar gets damaged, you'll see a crack in his helmet. But don't worry, it'll get fixed up right away.
Okay.
I still think of this direct very fondly, and its strengths are evident, but at the end of the day, it's too unbalanced for me to give it anything higher than a B. Okay, now we're starting to get more conventional. September 2018 is the most in line so far with directs as we know them today. Big opener, big closer, little bit of tedium in the middle. Luigi's Mansion 3 was a great way to start things off. It felt big, even though the franchise wasn't the sales titan it currently is. Dark Moon was 13 years after the original, so to have the confirmation that the series was not only becoming a mainstay, but that it was making the leap back to home consoles, or hybrids, whatever, was major. It's funny that by working title, they meant working title. The middle of the direct was unfortunately tasked with introducing Nintendo Switch Online, and here's how you'll be paying for something that was formerly free is always a tough sell. We didn't even have SNES at the time, which was rough. Thank God they're not resetting things for Switch 2. Surrounding that though, we got a solid slew of announcements. Katamari Damacy, Civ 6, Final Fantasy 7, 9, and 10. Splatoon 2 got an update, we finally saw Yoshi's Crafted World again, and New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe got shown off, which was clearly exciting to some people. But that ending switcheroo, man, generational. Never has a Nintendo Direct put me through such an intense emotional roller coaster. Oh my god, it's Animal Crossing! Oh, it's just Smash. Wait, it's Smash! Oh my god, it's Smash! Wait, it's Animal Crossing! Almost had a heart attack. Great Direct, yes I'm biased, A tier. To me, February 2019 feels like the perfect representation of an average Nintendo Direct. An average Direct still being very enjoyable. That Mario Maker 2 trailer was so much fun. Just like Splatoon, the first game was one of the few Wii U-era ventures that still felt massively popular. Like, yeah, we're drowning, but at least people are paying attention now. This trailer feels like it really respected that acclaim. I mean, it opened with 30 straight seconds of slopes, they clearly knew what we wanted. And it keeps that electric pace throughout, just a crazy bombardment of new possibilities. I can't imagine a reveal that better embodies Mario Maker at its core. I'm one of two people who actually cares about Box Boy, so seeing that make the leap was cool. When Tetris 99 was first shown off, I don't think anyone expected it to become one of the Switch's defining games, but it kinda turned into that. I mean, even if you haven't played it in a while, which I haven't, its presence is unavoidable. I'm sure they're cooking up a Metroid Prime 4 theme as we speak. Astral Chain, which everyone conveniently forgets to mention when complaining about Nintendo lacking new IPs, made a bombastic debut, and the presentation ended with Link's Awakening. A remake, so not exactly the craziest closer, but 2D Zelda in any form will always be appreciated. Solid showing, B tier. Spoiler alert, E3 2019 is my favorite Switch era E3. Mostly because, aside from 2017's, it's the only one that feels like it couldn't have happened anywhere else. E3 used to be the big one, the time of year that eclipsed all others when it came to gaming announcements, but as directs got bigger and bigger, no fault of their own, the line between an E3 Direct and a Nintendo Direct became more and more blurred. Obviously, that speaks to the quality Nintendo Directs would eventually adopt, but eventually, it started to feel like an E3 Direct was just a summer Direct. And while I'm sure they didn't go into this one specifically thinking otherwise, it felt like they did. First thing I've got to talk about is us actually getting a little skit, because we don't get these nowadays. Thank you, Doug Bowser. It was an inevitable joke, but it was necessary. We open with Hero and Smash, which, regardless of how you feel about the character, is kind of just one of the best Smash trailers production-wise. Like, action and choreography are going crazy here. We even did the thing that all the best Smash trailers do, where we double dip for a second cinematic portion. People complained about the name, but if you don't like the hero, you're in for a shock when we get the human. Luigi's Mansion 3 shows up for its first in-depth look, and instantly asserts itself as one of the Switch's best-looking games. EGAD says things like, and they animated his mouth doing that. Link's Awakening and Three Houses were both highlighted before their upcoming releases. Witcher 3 and No More Heroes both got reveals. Silk Song existed. But the closing stream of back-to-back-to-back craziness is what really makes this one feel next level. First up, gotta mention one of my favorite trailers of the entire generation, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Hey, I've had things to say about this game, but I'm not gonna pretend like this wasn't everything to me at the time. Our first look at an HD Animal Crossing that isn't just 1080p-ified New Leaf, and it looked amazing. A whole new setting and concept, so unique and bizarre that it makes you question if this is even the Animal Crossing we know. But then we see that time lapse and the other seasons and the accordion comes into the theme and we're so back. Wouldn't change anything about this reveal. We jump from that to Banjo and Smash, one of the many impossible characters that Ultimate brought to fruition. Who says you can't have your cake and eat it too? They literally did both things. This was an uncomplainable situation. And then, the big one. That first Tears reveal was something else, man. For a game that had extensively nothing burger trailers for most of its hype cycle, which we will talk about, they've really knocked it out of the park with the original. The tone, the build-up, the intensity. September 2019 did not do much for me. When NSO is one of the highlights of your entire presentation, well, that's just not right. As is opening with Overwatch, like, huh? We know the formula now, you don't have to mix it up, guys, I promise. We got Terry in Smash, which is a cool history pick, and a very cool homage trailer alongside him. Confirmation of even more fighters beyond the first pass, that was nice. Super Kirby Clash, Doom 64, updates on Luigi's Mansion, Sword and Shield, and New Horizons, so not devoid of life, just not drowning in it either. Ends with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, one of my favorite games, but I wouldn't fault anyone for not feeling a 2-gen remake as the closer. Honestly, I think my favorite part was the thing that happened shortly after, but we can't really count that. Sorry, September, going in D. Whoa, did you feel that? The cold chill up your spine? Well, that's because we've entered a dark era, the Great Nintendo Direct Depression. From September 2019 to February 2021, we were a lost people, directionless even, forced to feed on partner showcases. It wasn't much, but we got by. Okay, cutting the bit for a second, obviously there was a lot going on in 2020 that disrupted the flow of things, and games were the last thing on anyone's mind, I get it. Nintendo's output was more than reasonable given the circumstances. I really am glad that we got anything at all, and I think it's an interesting part of the Switch's history to look back on as long as you don't let funny toy commercials cloud the lens of what was actually happening. Anyways, the Great Nintendo Direct Depression was merciless. Reggie smirked in his retirement home as we lived off the scraps of WWE 2K Battlegrounds. And when there was seemingly light at the end of the tunnel, a way forward game important enough for a Nintendo Treehouse segment, it was Bakugan. Truly an unprecedented and terrifying time. So much so that some people questioned if Nintendo Directs were gone for good, whether Twitter drops and partner events were the new norm. And the answer was, of course not. Have you seen what Directs do for Nintendo? What they do for everyone now? A format so successful that competitors wanted a piece of the pie. Of course they'd go back to them once the world started to adapt. And February 2021 marked that highly anticipated, kinda rocky return to form. Look, I'm willing to cut them a lot of slack for not instantly getting back into the swing of things. I'm staying an Aegis trailer defender though. Is it the best opening? Probably not. And I know people were burnt out by the whole, whoa, I'm in Smash type of reveals, but I don't know. I feel like this one was a successful subversion, and that ending clash was really cool. Beyond that, we got Splatoon 3. Okay, I'm oversimplifying things. Famicom Detective Club returned, that turned out to be a bigger deal than we knew at the time. New Mario Golf? Okay. Miitopia was a nice port to get with its revamped customization, which Nintendo somehow hasn't done anything with since, but you know, we stay hopeful. Triangle Strategy was revealed, once again pretending that this won't be the final title. Aonuma pulls up, says sequel to Breath of the Wild, then goes Psych You Thought and switches to Skyward Sword. And that's the Direct. To be fair, Splatoon 3 was very cool. Many people at the time, myself included, assumed that this was a typical Nintendo once-per-generation franchise, like Mario Kart, Smash, or Animal Crossing, so it was truly surprising. But can it save this one from mediocrity? Not really. C tier. The final E3 Direct, the end of an era, and Nintendo's last showing sent it out with a bang. Not their greatest E3 of the generation, but that shouldn't take anything away from how good this was. We start off with Kazuya, and this is gonna sound super hypocritical after I just defended the Pyro and Mythra trailer, but I always felt like this one had pacing problems. One of the most exciting parts of a Smash reveal is the build-up to it, the inherent respect given to a character by treating their presence as something to be celebrated. But with Kazuya, it's kinda just cliff scene, then, oh, there he is. Still a great pick, just could have used some more energy at the start in my opinion. Third-party surprises included the Life is Strange trilogy, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, and Shin Megami Tensei 5, which we'd already seen by this point, but got a more comprehensive look. Mario & Rabbids 2 also showed up, but Ubisoft had that reveal at their own show. First-party wise, we got the Mario Party game that set us back on track in Superstars, WarioWare's home console return and Get It Together, and the revival of Advance Wars, all set to release later that year. Originally. But the two reveals I've yet to mention made this one stellar. After 2 decades since Fusion, Metroid 5 was finally here, and it was Metroid Dread, the long-leaked scrapped title for the DS. 2D Metroid was treated with so much respect here. It got its own segment just to unveil this game, and do so in the most dramatic way possible. Mercury Steam, I love you. And then, after years of silence, Tears of the Kingdom finally made its gameplay debut, and yeah, this trailer was pretty good too. The castle floating in the air with Zelda's lullaby playing softly in the background? Man, what a visual. My problems with this Direct are few and far between. A tier. September 2021 is when Miyamoto revealed the Mario movie casting. Okay, all jokes aside, this is another great direct, even though I don't have a ton to say about it. At the very least, it was one of the most entertaining. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was finally unveiled, pushing this 3-decade-old franchise in a completely new direction and doing it perfectly. This trailer did everything it needed to do. You're blown away by the simple fact that Kirby's in 3D, then double blown away by the fact that he's in 3D in a weird, overgrown, post-apocalyptic Earth. Incredible statement of originality by a series people feared was becoming overly formulaic. We got a big trailer for Monster Hunter Rise DLC, 2 other huge presentations announced for the next few weeks, which almost seems like cheating, but whatever. Updates for Age of Calamity and Metroid Dread, the announcement of N64 and NSO, which admittedly was exciting, a big single-player trailer for Splatoon 3, the aforementioned hilarity, and ending on Bayonetta 3. A title from the Switch era's infamous Never Gonna Get It trifecta. This one was paced really well. A tier. I don't think there's a single Switch era direct that my opinion shifted on as much as February 2022. Like, it's not bad or anything, but I look back on some of the announcements and it's like, But based on our prior rules, I'm not going to let that influence the ranking too much. At the end of the day, this is a pretty fun and well-crafted direct. We start off with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which is a fun surprise, more than deserved considering 3 Houses' success. If there's one thing you can count on with next level games, it's presentation, and that holds true for Battle League. Was at the very least nice to look at. Splatoon 3 got a Salmon Run trailer, kinda more of the same, but you know, it's Salmon Run, not gonna complain about that. Chrono Cross, Portal 1 and 2, and Live Alive, fun surprises. Nintendo Switch Sports, I mean, I don't think people were even happy at the time. They made a spectacle out of Earthbound coming to NSO, that was cute. The Booster Course Pass was announced, and that was some of the best DLC we got all generation, so there's no undercutting that. And then we end with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, a much more fitting closer for the franchise that feels very earned after everything it and Monolith Soft accomplished. Not horrible, not the greatest, B tier. The infamous farming Nintendo Direct is not that bad. I mean, it's not the best, but it gave me Pikmin 4, what do you expect me to say? Pacing was definitely the biggest issue here. Directs had been on such a hot streak in terms of viewing enjoyment that September 2022 felt like a bit of a throwback to the days where the format wasn't nearly as refined. There are long stretches of just very little of note throughout. But when you put these announcements in a vacuum, I mean, we've definitely seen worse. Fire Emblem Engage, It Takes Two, Octopath Traveler 2, Pikmin 4, which is kind of Nintendo's first party farming game, so, you know, fitting, and Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, a stellar remake of one of the series' best. I can't defend that ending though. Look, Tears, it was cute when you closed out directs the first couple times, but now I'm gonna need a little bit more than 90% hieroglyphics. It's a shame that the title reveal trailer is easily the weakest the game received. I mean, you look at Breath of the Wild's title reveal and the difference is night and day. Side note, man, this trailer needs so much more love. I know it's not January 2017 tier, but it's pretty close. When it hits you with that ooh, great stuff. Anyway, yeah, in spite of that blight on the presentation and general pacing issues, the quality of the big announcements themselves counteracts them enough for me to put it in C. We've definitely had worse. February 2023, by comparison, is much better. Pikmin 4 starts with its first gameplay reveal in what's probably one of the most emotional trailers of the generation for me. I mean, that piano opening is diabolical. Xenoblade showed off Future Redeemed for the first time, only a tease, but a major tease. Ghost Trick returned alongside Fantasy Life and Professor Layton. Splatoon 3's DLC got shown off for the first time, and admittedly took way too long to basically say, yeah, Inkopolis is coming back. Megalore Epilogue, GB and GBA on Nintendo Switch Online. Metroid Prime, a quote-unquote remaster blowing most Switch games out of the water visually in what many consider the system's primary technical showcase. The Booster Course Pass segment was crazy, not only revealing a beautiful homage to Yoshi's Island, but confirming that new racers would also be joining the game, no extra charge, just because. And yeah, we end off with Tears of the Kingdom. This trailer was fine, hearing Ganondorf was cool, but by this point I was thoroughly tired of watching Link jump off of things. Definitely the meatiest trailer we'd gotten to that point, can't complain too much, but if one game closes 4 directs in the Switch 2 era, I will not be happy. Great presentation all around, A tier. It's still funny to me that June 2023 was basically just a Mario Direct with some other stuff sprinkled in. I mean, I like Mario, so I'm not going to be too mad about it. And unlike E3 2018, where nearly everything was dedicated to Ultimate, at least that Mario-ness was spread across a bunch of different games in a bunch of different genres from a bunch of different series. Super Mario RPG kicked off a renaissance with 2 other seemingly abandoned RPGs soon following. More than anything, it really set a tone, which I greatly appreciated. This was followed by the first tease for Princess Peach Showtime. Pretty much nothing of substance was shown, but the idea of a Peach game after all this time really added to that feeling of risk and creativity returning to the Mario franchise, a feeling that was capitalized on even further when Mario Wonder closed the presentation. Oh, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon was there too, I guess. And WarioWare, almost forgot about WarioWare, that was a good one. Outside of that, we got Pokemon DLC, more Pikmin, more Mario Kart, Arkham, Detective Pikachu, Metal Gear. Pretty solid, B tier. Alright, now things are starting to wrap up. September 2023, when presentations started getting leaked and people pretended it was fun. Thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, there wasn't too much of excitement to leak anyway. I mean, it makes sense, the Switch was on its last legs by this point, but to me, this Direct was hard carried by the 1,000-year door reveal at the end, keeping the Mario RPG renaissance going strong. I reacted normally.
1,000-year door!
Still some decent stuff though. We saw Side Order for the first time, that was cool. Another Code returned, continuing the trend of some niche Nintendo titles being brought to a new audience. Peach Showtime, Luigi's Mansion, and WarioWare all got dedicated portions, and we finally got a new F-Zero game, even if it wasn't in the form some were hoping for. Far from the worst Direct of the generation, but we're clearly winding down. C tier. And wind us back up because June 2024 is borderline miraculous. At a time when everyone's expectations were lowered as we waited for the Switch 2, Nintendo randomly decided to drop one of the best Switch Directs ever. They really squeezed as much life out of this thing as they could. We opened with Mario and Luigi Brothership. The series is alive. Renaissance. Nintendo Switch Sports is somehow being updated. Sure, man, I'll let you have it. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. I'm sure Nintendo will tweet about it sometime this week. Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 HD 2D. Perfect Dark on Switch Online. Mario Party finally completing its character arc and applying what it's learned. A new 2D Zelda, starring Zelda 11 years after A Link Between Worlds. Still not over that one. Marvel vs. Capcom, Ace Attorney Investigations, Denpamen? And it feels very full circle, poetic even, for the Switch's final one more thing to be Metroid Prime 4. Sorry, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. They didn't show much, but they didn't need to. I see Silex Aura, I'm in. It definitely helps that people weren't really anticipating much from this Direct, but even if I was expecting the world, I still would have been satisfied. S tier Direct. Hey guys, it's Future Tendo, so obviously, as we now know, June 2024 was not the final Switch era Direct. Nintendo decided to be funny and put one out in the final 6 days before the Switch 2 Direct. So, you know, they could tell that I was waiting to put out this video until I thought I was safe and then swept the rug out from under me. So, anyways, you know, we gotta do a quick rating of the latest Nintendo Direct, which just happened. I think I liked it. It was good. It was cute. It was modest. Obviously, like, expectations are different because, like, the Switch 2 Direct is about to happen, and obviously it's, like, known now to be the final Switch Direct. So, like, my expectations were, like, nothing. That could impact my rating or whatever, but, Metroid Prime 4, we didn't see a ton of it, but, like, what we saw looks cool. Samus has telekinesis, and she is purple now, but also red now. That's cool. Rhythm Heaven, I haven't gotten into Rhythm Heaven yet, but, I'm very happy for people because I have sympathy for anyone who has to wait like a decade for a new game in a franchise. And then, what really brought it home, Tomodachi Life. That is putting it in B for me. I mean, you know, recency bias could be different. Tomodachi Life brings it up to B. I'm just feeling it. It's good. And there you have it. All 18 Switch-era Nintendo Directs and one Switch-era Nintendo presentation ranked. I probably ordered the tiers by this point if I hadn't already, so what you're looking at now is my final list. And if there's one takeaway here, this was an incredible generation. You can see the numbers dwindling as we go down the list. There are so few forgettable presentations here that it's staggering. Even the flawed ones have more than their fair share of redeeming elements. And as we head into a completely new era for Nintendo, I can only hope that it's just as engaging, surprising, and fun as this one was. But don't show 3D Zelda early. I can't do it again.